Good morning, everyone. It's Joker, and today we are back with another slime video. And today's video is going to be focusing on Heroes Jubilee 42 Normal Battle 2, another stage that we have a max score in. I actually have two teams that have max scores in this, so there are options, and that's great to see. It is another AoE stage. Thankfully, unlike Normal Battle 1, Normal Battle 2 can actually take a hit. So we are fighting 3 light bats, if this thing ever wants to load. There we go. The starting hand is a special convert to greens, which is okay. It's wanting you to use the Overlord team, technically. I did not use the Overlord team because not a lot of people have access to it if they weren't around in February of this year. So I didn't want to be too unfair. And these bats, they have guard, they have defense, they have pierce resistance, so they can definitely take a hit, which makes it a lot easier. Also, this battle, you can go up to turn 5 while getting the max turn bonus. Normal Battle 1 and 3 are turn 3s, but this one is turn 5, which they had to make the bats tankier for that. So it's a little bit easier. But disclaimers as always. Disclaimer number 1, your results may vary. Use this video as a guide. The teams I build are not going to suit everybody, so you got to substitute units out as you have them. Disclaimer number 2 is these are the units I use for protection gauge, and these are the units I use for skill points on turn 1. And then finally, disclaimer number 3 is don't forget to go into your town and optimize your dark building, so your dark nuker can do as much damage as possible. But with that said, let's jump in. Alright, the first team we're going to show off for Normal Battle 2 is the New Year's Blessing team with, what do you know, Summer Milim. Still an AoE goddess, still very good in an AoE setting, both here and Valor Cup. And we're using New Year's Xion to give her guaranteed crit and synergy. Gobta, because we need the poison dodge on turn 2. This is a longer fight, you can go to turn 5 like I said, and they will poison you on turn 2. So you do need that, or you can RNG yourself with some bracelets or accessories that can give you poison dodge, whatever you want to do. And then we have New Year's Blessing, Rimuru, Milim, Shinsha for the buffs, the rainbow orbs, and then Milim's own attack and dark attack buff and the ability to steal blue orbs as well. This team will most definitely hit the 1.4 million damage ceiling. It's the normal ceiling versus the Normal Battle 1 that had the 1.6 because Wind Team does too much already. So it's much easier to get. Easier, quote unquote, subjective. Okay, so turn 1 we have 4 greens, a blue, and an orange. Can't really do much about that. We're just going to send these 2 Shinsha orbs and get that orange orb out of here. Because we have 5 turns, we don't really need to worry about perfect hands the first couple of turns. We just need to get working to something that we need and can use very well. So here on turn 2, they're going to poison us. We're going to bring Gobta in for Shinsha. We're going to send these 2 green Milim orbs after using the poison dodge, and that will give us, at least 4 Rimuru orbs to convert into rainbows next turn. 5, since we got another Rimuru orb, which is great. And now we're dodging all the poison. We're still taking 1 damage across the board. Awesome. And now 127 points. We got plenty, so we can rainbow here. And then we have a blue orb, which means that we can steal that with Milim. And then we can have a full 6-hand of Milim. We have plenty of points. We can use the dark attack now if we want, or not. It doesn't really matter all that much. We're going to go and send it. But we're going to kill one of the bats, because if you leave all 3 of them alive and you go to turn 4, you will take 1 point of extra damage than what you can do to get a max score. So this one's going to die, and then we'll spread the rest of the damage out. This will give us maximum points, give us the EX ult, and then we can nuke this turn on turn 4. So we don't even need 5 turns, but that's the reason, is they do AoEs, and if you have 3 bats doing AoEs, that's 9 hits, and that's quote-unquote too much for max score. So we'll bring Shinsha in, we'll use the buff, and then we'll use Xion to give us the guaranteed crit synergy, and then we'll go ahead and nuke these bats. I mean, if you bring someone in from the back line who doesn't have all these buffs, you might be able to get away with a few more hits here, but not a lot. And if they guard, cool. But 728k right there. That's 1.4 million alone, and that's on 2 bats, so There we go, we took 12 damage. If you took 13 damage, it would be a minus 1 point to damage received, and that would put us at 101,099. And I'm sure for people's OCD, you would not like to see that. But because we killed the middle bat, we have limited our damage to 12, which is the exact number. We've done at least 1.4 million damage for max score, and we did it within 5 turns, which is the turn bonus score. So there is the first team that can get a max score. Let's see the second team now. Alright, the second team is quite janky. Alright, so we've got Commander Renard, again, 4-star Gobta for the poison dodge and the blue orb change. We've got Commander Shizu, who's going to give 100% physical damage and then 70% EX ult damage. We have Dark Milim, who's going to give Diablo a 25% attack buff because she is skill fused. If she's not, then he won't get that attack buff, but he's getting his own attack buff anyways, I think, so it doesn't really matter. She's mainly here to orb change turn 1 and give the generic ult buff that will go alongside the EX buff from Shizu. Diablo is our single target nuker. He's got the attack and the weakness strike, and then Visions of Coleus Rimuru will enable us to get the EX ult for Diablo. It's a very janky looking team, but it can get it done, and you can also take, just 1 damage, and we are single target nuking, which means you want to kill 2 of the bats now, which definitely cuts down the damage that we take. Alright, so turn 1, Milim will orb change. Great, that means that we're off to a pretty good starting hand. We've got the big 3. No one else has attack gear on except for Diablo, because again, we want to leave them as weak as possible so we don't do too much damage. So Milim orb change, boom. We'll bring Diablo in for Gobta, and we'll also... Actually, I think we leave Rimuru in the back, because we need to use him next turn. Yeah, so we'll send this. We'll send Diablo first, so that way we don't give him the 200% orb and give him too much power. But everyone here is type advantage in some way except for Gobta. So they're going to do extra damage against light, which is why we can't send them, and we can't have them with attack gear. But we do need to kill 2 of them. And we also cannot take, random pierces as well. So here, we've got a stack of Renard. That will increase our weakness strike, which does, increase the amount of damage we do take here. But here's a hand, and then we have Gobta, who we need his orb change, and we need his poison dodge here. So let's put that on with Renard. We've also got the alt gauge rush charm, so we can even further get alt gauge for Diablo. Orb change, poison dodge. That's a perfect blue hand. Excellent. Diablo does have his... I can't remember what it's called. His other state where he gives himself alt gauge and also clears debuffs off of him. So, I mean, you could use that to poison dodge as well, technically. And then, but if he gives it to if Gobta already gives it to everyone, there's no real point. And we didn't have enough points to use it anyways. So, good. Another stack of Renard. We've got an interesting hand right here, which we can work with. The problem is we don't have an alt swap here. So the Lord of Wisdom, I think, is I can't remember what it's called, but he rushes his own alt by 30%, which is good. We're going to need that. So we'll bring Rimuru in, and then we'll self-convert those orbs, and then we'll rainbow the rest. And we'll be able to send 5 orbs here, because it's rainbows and an orange. And then we'll take out this bat, and then it'll just leave the 1 bat. This will get us the EX ult on turn 4, and then we just need enough points to use the other buffs as well. So Commander Shizu, Diablo, and then Milim's alt buff. So we need to go another turn to turn 5, which is the maximum, and we actually didn't kill that bat here, which is kind of strange. Okay, sure. But now we just need points. So there's the EX ult, another stack of Renard. We can now swap out Diablo because we don't need him up front anymore. We'll bring Milim in, and interesting hand. We'll convert with Gobta, and that'll be a full hand of blues. This will finally give us enough points, and then we can kill this bat, and that'll just leave the bat on the right at not too low of HP, but certainly it's the only one left now. But turn 5 is up. This is the final turn that we can do for max turn bonus, but we have 250 points, which is enough to use everything here. So we'll bring him in for Rimuru, we'll bring Shizu in for Gobta, and we'll triple buff and do 1 more stack of Renard. So Diablo's got 70% alt, 100% attack. Yeah, 100% attack. So yeah, the dark attack from Milim means nothing because Diablo's giving himself so much more. So it's just the alt buff. But Diablo does 1.4 million by himself right there, which is what we need to do in total to get the max score. Another 12 points of damage taken, another within 5 turns for max turn bonus, 1.47 million damage, max, max, max. So those are 2 teams that can get the max score that are wildly different, for the most part, in normal Battle 2. Let's move on to the other alternate teams. Okay, next is this Exalted Champion Velzard, but Visions of Coleus Rimuru is who we're going to be nuking with today. So we've got Bride Shuna for the Orb Steal, Gobta still here for the Poison Dodge, Violet and Dark Milim to buff, and then Coleus Rimuru will be doing the Rainbow Orb conversions for himself, because we're going to steal 6, and then we're going to convert them to blues, and then rainbow them. So we've got his EX alt, and then we've got the dark attack, or the attack buff, and the alt buff, and the magic buff, and the element buff. So he's not going to do the 1.4 million, but he's certainly an option for you that you can use to at least AoE nuke this stage. So turn 1, again, we have Dark Milim who can convert, and then we'll just send her in for Bride Shuna, so we can leave her in the back to steal next turn, as long as we can get a number of orbs. I don't know why I didn't send all of the orbs there, but I mean, it worked out. So we got 5 Milim orbs, and it doesn't really matter because we got a whole bunch of rainbows. We could have used Milim to orb change turn 1. We would have just had to bank on RNG to give us 3 orbs of somebody at that point, but this way also works. So Shuna comes in, we will steal, and then we will bring in Rimuru, who's going to convert all of them to rainbows, or to blues, and then to rainbows, and then we have enough points to poison dodge. Exactly enough points. And now we have his EX ult, so we just have to spread the damage out, because we do want to AoE everybody here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Boom. We don't do too much damage here, because they are guarding and they do have defense, but hey, damage is damage. We now have his EX ult. We just need a bit more points, I believe. So we have to go to turn 4 with this team, because an 80-point skill and the 55, we don't quite have enough here. So we do need to burn off another turn. Now, I mean, what we could do is we could do this, change them all to greens, and send 5 greens. You could have flipped Rimuru out for someone else and used Velzard and then had 6 greens just to lower their HP even more. It really doesn't matter. Violet almost killed there, which I didn't expect, but I also expected the bat to guard a bit, and it didn't. So there's a hit, and there's 3 hits, and a Pierce on Violet, which is unfortunate, but oh well. And then another 3 hits, and now we have 140 points. Now we can properly nuke. So Violet buff, Milim buff, Velzard buff, call it a day. We're still within 5 turns, because we're on turn 4, so we're going to get the max turn bonus at least. And we'll see how much damage we can actually output from Coleus Rimuru, who doesn't have his own personal buffs. So he's more utility, but he still does, 1.2 million damage there, which is pretty respectable, all things considered. So 1.2, it's almost to the 1.4 million cap. We did take a little bit of damage from that Pierce, which is unfortunate, and maybe something else along the way. But that's certainly a team that does work, and you don't need New Year's Blessing for it, or the Commander team. Well, at least not some of the Commander team. But let's move on to the final team that I've got for you. Okay, the last team looks a little bit similar to the previous team, right? But we've swapped Rimurus now. We've got Velzard, we've got Fire Velzard, and this is an option if you don't have a triple Orb Stealer like Summer Hinata, the Wind Masked Hero, or Light Shuna. You can make a double Orb Stealer work, you just need a bit of luck to get 4 orbs for someone instead of 3, but thankfully this run we do. Gobta, still here, still poison dodging. Octogram Lumi, since, most players should have her as long as they have the emblems, and she's got the AoE buff and the alt buff. Milim is still here. We could orb change with her turn 1. We can alt buff. We can give Rimuru the attack buff. And Rimuru is the AoE dark character with crits and crit damage. So this team also can nuke with some power. Not as powerful as the other teams because he's not an EX unit, but it's still something. And this Rimuru was given away for free. This Gobta is a 4-star, right? You've pulled him probably a bunch of times from just random ticket multis. And then Velzard's quite old. Lumi is quote-unquote free. Milim came out at the same time as Rimuru, but she's been around since the first Annie, so Velzard is like the only character. We're running skill point units up front for maximum power, and there's not really a reason for that. You don't really need to, but we did anyways. Okay, so I keep bringing Dark Milim with the intention of orb changing, and then I don't orb change, but with this we are trying to get 4 orbs for somebody, so we're going to just send these 3 and pray we get more Milim, and it doesn't work out like that, unfortunately. But since we do have 5 turns, again, just like the Diablo team, we don't need perfect RNG turn 2. We can kind of play around with this. So let's go ahead and alt buff and poison dodge, because the alt buff will affect everybody regardless. Don't have to be up front. And then we'll just send these 3 Gopta orbs and pray we get another Milim, which we do here. So we poison dodged, we've also countered, cool. But this now ensures that we can use Velzard to steal those 2 other orbs, and then we can get a 6-hand of Dark Rimuru, who doesn't honestly need 6 orbs of something, because he's not an EX character. He doesn't need a literal fuck ton of alt gauge, but it is just nice to have. So we'll steal there, and then we'll swap him in, and then we will use more buffs from Lumi. So 1 stack of the AoE, our second alt buff stack, so we're up to 40% alt, and then we'll spread this damage out. I do want to use a couple other things here, so we're not going to nuke next turn. I think we're going to nuke turn 5 here, but I could be mistaken. Let's find out together, I guess. We are going to use his crit buff early. So there's a Pierce debuff, and that's fine. We're not Pierce focused. That's not a big problem. But I do want to get like 1 more stack of the AoE buff in, because that is a really, really powerful skill. And we need that, plus the alt buff, plus the crit buff. So let's do that, and then let's do this. Yep. And then we'll swap him away. That way we can hold on to the crit buff for next turn, and we'll bring Milim in or something. And we have another Velzard here. But we have a problem, I think, is that we don't have access to it. So I think we're just going to send these 2 orbs, because a 6 send of Velzard without like a green buff is not going to get us another one. So we just have to have enough points to get the alt buff from Milim, which thankfully, because of the extra 30, we do. We don't need to use another stack of a skill. I don't know if we would have the points to, and if we tried to use Velzard last turn, we certainly wouldn't have another one. What I guess we could have done is we could have like used her and then swapped Rimuru out, but he does 243 a hit, which, you know, also isn't great, but also is better than nothing. And we only took 1 damage there, or -1 score for the damage. So it does work, right? Maybe I could have optimized it a bit more here and there, but you know, this is a lower category team, so hopefully you found this video useful. If you have any other teams that managed to clear Normal Battle 2, please put them down in the comments. That way other people can see that and take advantage of it. But that's it from me, guys. Take it easy, and I'll see you all later.